All right. Welcome to episode 2 of Learning in Public. Oh, you see my screen there. I was just making the thumbnail. Yesterday, we made really good progress on the Lovely Events website. I'll catch you up really quick. Started making a logo. We got some feedback from the client, who happens to be my wife and her sister, on their events business. They want something a little bit different out of the logo, so we're going to make some changes to that logo today. We made some really good progress on, I'm got these things stacked here. We generated the scaffold for justlovely.events using V0 and the newly released ChatGPT 5. And then we started adding features using Codex, and we started to get some trouble with things breaking. And here's an example of a Codex pull request that broke the styling of the app. So today's plan is to get back to where we were working on the logo, and then wrap that up, send it over to McKenna and Melinda for feedback, and then from there we're going to jump right back into vibe coding the Just Lovely Events website so that we can hopefully get this online, integrated into the Go High Level CRM, and connected to N8N to do some really interesting agentic work that will hopefully accelerate their sales and customer research process. You'll see I've got my tuxedo t-shirt on today, which means I'm formal and professional, but also ready to party, as one of the great movies says. I think it was John C. Reilly who said something like that in a movie. Let me know if y'all know what movie that is. I have chat working today, so I'll be able to see messages if any come in, and I'll be looking forward to feedback and hopefully some live interactions if those things show up like they did yesterday. The goal ultimately will be to make as much progress as we can on this public-facing marketing site so that we can get it live, and then start to integrate Go High Level and N8N so that Just Lovely Events can start selling online by the end of the month. But we have a little bit of our own flow here, and my intention and objective is to get this much visibility from Mr. Rick Rubin, who is the Lao Tzu of our time. And so we'll read the second verse from Rick Rubin. We'll start and end with that. I like to sort of anchor with intention. And then we'll read from the Tao Te Ching, again, the second verse. I don't even know if they're called verses. That might be a legacy linguistic fallback from me. So let's go before we jump in. So I'll get verse 2 pulled up. We'll compare them side by side, and if anything jumps out, we will we'll reflect on it for a second. Got a piece of scratch paper here. I got my grid paper. So I'm ready to brainstorm. Verse 2, when we recognize code as elegant, other code becomes sloppy. I'm loving this already. When we praise efficiency, the notion of waste is born. You'll notice a lot of duality here, right? That's kind of the point. Being and non-being create each other. Simple and complex define each other. Long and short determine each other. High and low distinguish each other. Front end and back end follow each other. That's a code reference if you're not a super tech person. Therefore, the vibe coder builds without laboring and instructs by quiet example. That's actually a really good line because context sort of drives the trajectory of our results. Things arise and he accepts them, or she, or they. Things vanish and he lets them go. He holds without claiming possession, creates without seeking praise, accomplishes without expectation. The work is done and then forgotten. That's why it lasts forever. Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Rubin. Let's read from Lao Tzu. Under heaven, all can see beauty as beauty only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good only because there is evil. Therefore, having and not having arise together. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short contrast each other. High and low rest upon each other. Voice and sound harmonize each other. Front and back follow each other. Therefore, the wise go about doing nothing, teaching, no talking. The 10,000 things rise and fall without cease, creating yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit. Work is done, then forgotten. Therefore, it lasts forever. Love it. Take from it what you need. Always good to sit and reflect and anchor to the things that are true. Are we doing this for credit or because we love it? Right? Are we building out of compulsion or out of desire to create something magnificent? Why does a mustachioed man with a tuxedo shirt get online to share a perspective? Because he loves what he does and is super excited about this technology. And hopefully that authenticity comes through. And if it doesn't, it won't matter because the work is done and forgotten anyway, but somehow timeless. All right. Let's go right into the logo. So the feedback we got yesterday was that this cartoon character isn't quite on brand and the balloon is maybe a little bit too simple for what they're going for. Or not too simple, maybe too cartoony. Ultimately, what McKenna and Melinda opted for, and I think it's a great idea, like we said, somebody's got to go first, and getting feedback on what you don't want often reveals what you do want. So the feedback that we got was they like the idea of sort of a semi-retro flower either here or following lovely. And I think it's a great idea. And we were given a reference image here. You'll note, let me open this up. It's super grainy, right? I want to kind of show you the rough starting. So this was like circled on a phone message, right? So we've got this really sort of cute 60s, 70s vibe, flower child vibe. We took that and I said, hey, can we, this is very simple. This is GPT-5, by the way, so we're going to start working with 5. You actually don't have the option to select other models anymore, which I liked having that flexibility, but not everybody probably feels that way. And I think having a unified experience will be very interesting, generally speaking. But myself likes to have access to some model selection, speed. You know, I kind of have a clear expectation of what I'm going to get as an output. So I'm still learning. The only options that are available here are just 5 and then Pro, right? So you have research grade and sort of the general 5, and then you have tools again here, and we'll work with GPT-5 much more today as we go through this. So I started this morning trying to get a more aligned set of flower icons that we can work with. I haven't seen the most recent result, but this top left, hopefully it shows up on stream. This top left is much closer to what they were asking for. I ideally would like it to be a little bit more, I guess, whimsical and feminine. I want those lines to be a little bit more curved, but we're going to try to do this with AI as much as possible. So I could spend hours tinkering on getting the curvature of these lines right, and actually it wouldn't be that bad. It's a fairly simple logo, so it wouldn't take hours, but I don't think that's the purpose of this stream. The goal is to get to, and I have a transparent background on these images so they're not coming through as clearly. So we have a couple of different options here to start our work. And I think I'm liking, I think this bottom left, there's a little asymmetry there that I don't love. I think this top left one here is our best, closest example. So I'm going to pull that over again like we did yesterday, and we're just going to start working on Lovely. This should be a fairly quick process this time. We're going to do the exact same thing as yesterday, where we're going to convert this image into a bit, or take this bitmap and convert it to a vector. So we have flexibility about how we're interacting with it. And I'll do that really quick here. I'll vectorize the bitmap. There's only 2 colors in this. My coffee, by the way, today, much smaller. I have a water too, so we will be well hydrated. And hopefully I'll keep today's stream to less than 2 hours, but the goal is, you know, hour 45 today, or 2 hours. That's going to be about the daily learn in public stream. I think if this works out and we get some feedback that folks generally like, you know, having the ability to collaborate and watch somebody work using a range of digital tools. I'm something of a generalist. I've worked as a designer, I've worked as a front-end web engineer, I've worked as a back-end engineer, I've worked as a product manager, I've worked in data science. I've sort of had my career defined by curiosity, and so I have a certain flexibility to work across a range of tools that I feel comfortable with, and consider myself something of a generalist, which I like, and I feel like these tools take my generalized curiosity and empower me to perform above my abilities if I'm not expert, right? So although I'm not an expert in the tool itself, AI can accelerate a lot of the process for me, as we'll see more and more as we work through this. So this looks pretty great. I think we could even get away with 1 color. And again, I like the cartoon setting for these types of vectors. I don't want to merge the colors because I want to treat everyone as discrete and different. So let's go ahead and create these blocks. Cool. So we've got the background, which is now gone. This is slick. Okay, so that was the one I liked the most and that was best aligned to McKenna and Melinda's preferences. So I just want to play with one thing here and see if we can give it a an outline. Don't think that was the right way to do that, but that's okay. Okay, so we're gonna go with a two pixel, and this could look, and let's fill it. I think we'll go with the yellow flower. So we'll go with the fill color of yellow. And we'll start playing with where that shows up next. Oh, I'm kind of loving this already. When they say the customer is always right, I think in this case, That is very true. This just captures their personalities so well because they are just lovely. I think what they were talking about was some version of a whimsical Y that then connected to the flower. So maybe something like this for one. I've got things grouped together. All right, let's group that bad boy together, and let's then find another place to put the lovely flower. Let's see if we center align these. That's pretty simple and quite lovely. And actually, I might share out this live stream with McKenna and Melinda so they can give me real-time feedback if they'd like. All right. Share this really quick. Copy to clipboard. All right. Link shared. Cool. So I'm really liking how this is going. I think it's simple. I maybe want to play with this one just a little bit to give that whimsical line. It might be not my strength here, so we're gonna test the abilities since the rest of it went so fast. And I want something like an organic line, which is where I'm gonna have a little bit of a hard time. But let's see what we can do. Probably a little, oops. All right. Let's zoom in a hair here. So what I'm going to try to do is, there we go, that's what it's doing. Pull these over and stretch out the line at about that width. Oh no, I did it again. There we go. We're going to scroll left. There we go. It's going to be a straight looking line for now, but we will work on this here. So what I really wanted to do was to add, where's my line tool? And hopefully we can get some nice organic curves here to make it a playful Y. What was the old TV show? Why? Because we like you. Is that like Mickey Mouse Club? Oh man, I sound like a super old guy now. I want it to come down here deeper. what I really want to do is like draw. Let's maybe, I don't know how steep it should go. Obviously, these things can be worked with. We want to invest sort of the minimum amount of time to get the feeling and capture the intention without getting caught up in the details too much, because we're not even sure if this is going to be the direction folks want to go. Right now, that line looks a little bit long. I wonder if then the O could be replaced by the flower. I want to remove that one, but I don't want to break the line. Actually, I can smooth it out too. Start. We are going to massage this line into something lovely. Okay. I really like the brand name and concept. It just fits these two so well. All right. I'm sure there's people who have expertise in all these hotkeys who are stressed out at how cumbersome my process is. But like I said, I know just enough to be dangerous, not quite enough to be great. Ultimately, though, it gives me the opportunity to know my strengths and weaknesses and always keep learning, because I don't have to know everything. And my ego's not caught up in what other people can or can't do better than me, because I love learning. Okay, let's go with this on both. Oops. Real-time feedback is obviously always welcome. I almost wish I had the confidence to do a swirly line. Not loving this yet. Sort of scribbly. But not quite as organic as I want it to feel yet. feel like it needs, I'm not loving my abilities here, and I don't know how much time I want to invest in this line, but what should we do here? How should that look? I'm drawing here. I think that's going to be a bit of an investment. So let's freeze that one for now. And if there is, I wonder what I can do. Maybe I'll just ask GPT to make, let's see if it can make an image vector. Actually, that's probably the right call. Let's just give it a try to see if I can short circuit some of this and just say, give me, okay, so we're going to take the logo that we're working on here, and we're going to ask image generation capabilities in ChatGPT to give me an organic. Can you connect the Y in lovely to the flower with an organic neo-brutalist line? Let's see what it comes up with. Actually, I was going to say I suspect this won't work, but I'm always surprised. And also, this is a new image model that's so far been pretty effective, at least in capturing my intentions and staying aligned to my preferences. So all right, I got more balloon photos coming in from Melinda. Very excited about these. While it's working, I'll open up the images I've received today, and we can see their portfolio so we know what we're working with. Because one of the GPT prompts we created yesterday, or one of the Codex prompts we made yesterday, was asking, we asked Codex to implement a portfolio page, which ended up breaking the styling on the site. But that's okay, because our build isn't fully squared away, and we're not set up in the way we want to. So as those let's see what we're working with here. I think these ladies do beautiful work. Okay, so we have this balloon arch with flowers installed. A couple of different photos of the same garland. A baby shower balloon garland. I think this was inside a school. A graduation balloon garland. That's great. A birthday balloon garland. Oh, that one's so fun. I love how brightly colored it is. Maybe we can pull some of these colors into the theme too. Here's some custom pirate designed centerpieces and items. Oh wow, yeah, this was my mom and McKenna put this together for my son. Those are some lucky kids. Yes, Look at that. Birthdays, centerpieces, octopi. Look at how great those are. We'll probably need to crop some of this. That's another beautiful balloon garland in a house. Birthday party, military themed. Wow, that's fantastic. Look at all these. Very subtle designs. This was recent. This is the Stitch party my friend threw. I have some photos of that one. Another grad balloon banner. That's fantastic. Ooh, I love that one. That was an ASU graduation. I have a pretty good portfolio here. Star Wars birthday. That's so great. Those are my in-laws. But that's a fantastic, that is a fantastic image. I love that. Okay, cool. Another very bright balloon garland for my daughter's 6-year-old party. We have some beautiful centerpieces carved out of pineapple. Look at that. That's a Stitch themed balloon garland. All these custom flowers on the inside. This is a Hawaiian rainbow wave is what that's themed after. A lay station. Oh, these are great. This is gonna be a fantastic portfolio. Okay, great work. Okay, so it didn't quite connect the Y, but it looks like ChatGPT is having a similar problem to me. We're a little closer. It removed the pedal. Let's give it some feedback. This is great. I don't want to lose any petals. I want the line between the Y and the flower to be whimsical and feminine. And I want the Y and the to terminate behind the flower at the center. So that is, I don't have to add an image. The image was in context, and this is an iteration on top of that image. One of the things, I mean, we're just talking to the AI here. You're seeing I'm not putting a ton of effort into the prompts. I'm finding more and more that natural language is really effective to get what you want. There are times where precision in language is important, but I want to talk a little bit about what's called latent space activation. When you're dealing with an idea or a concept, there are implications to how those words represent the concept. So whimsical and feminine are descriptive words for a line that imply other things. So as a human, think about if someone was to say, I want a whimsical and feminine line to connect 2 points, how you might interpret that and what you see in your head. The thing you see in your head is effectively what we're trying to activate. It's the descriptive notions of a concept that we're hoping then get expressed by the AI in its output. We'll see if it works. It tends to be a fairly good pattern, at least in my experience, for getting what you want out of an AI prompt. We're getting some feedback here. Okay, they're saying no tail, which is great because that saves me time and we can get to vibe coding the app. So I'm going to send over the images we have, or the logos we have, for some feedback with a couple of different colors. I'll send this one and this one. I think what they're looking for is simple, and in this case I'll have multiple variations that give a sense of what we're doing. So I'll do some color variations, and then I will also do just regular black and white without color, so that the shape conveys. So We'll do McKenna's yellow and Melinda's purple. I think these would be just really cool hats. Okay, computer's running a little slow because I got a lot going on again, and we'll hopefully it doesn't make it too hard to get things done. But Chrome is a heavy app, it seems, and I've got a few tabs open right now already, plus Figma. So as soon as I close Figma, I should get some bandwidth back. Okay, there is the tail, but since they don't like it, that saves us effort from getting in there. It didn't really capture my idea of whimsical and feminine. What I was hoping for is the whimsical part would be maybe a little more movement in the line, making it feel a little bit lighter, sort of like a ribbon. And the feminine would probably be a thinner line with that was slightly more delicate, not intending to be gendered. Come at me. I guess controversy sells, so come at me. I'm saying really crazy things about femininity and masculinity. Okay, let's get that purple in here. See if we can cheeky like sneak that in. There's the purple. And then I'll do one solid color black with no outline. And hopefully we can get to, and maybe we do one with the O as the flower as the last attempt. So this one, oops, we'll have no stroke just to see what that gives, and we'll have it be all black. And this one, same thing, all black. And then one with the O and the flower replaced. This one be purple first this time. And hopefully we can get this dialed in today so we can see this on the website. Okay. We'll center these up and we'll space them out evenly. Oh, did that click? There it is. Oh no, I unclicked it. Lag. Okay, we'll align them to the center. We'll see if we can distribute these. We'll tidy it up. We'll distribute verbs. That's good. All right, we'll group that. And let's export it for review. Lovely logo concepts draft 2. Okay, cool. So for now, I think my favorite, oh man, I like all of these. I can see think it's going to be that one. I think I like that one for the web the most, but we'll see. Either way, we'll export it. We'll go back to that. And the lovely itself, let's have it be a slightly gray version of black. Okay. All right. All right, we'll export this one. And I'll send them over. And we'll close out. Let's see if I got feedback. Oh, they want a pink too. Okay. Here, I'll send these over. And I want to move on to the next step. So I might take some of this offline so we don't have too much time spent on the logo today. So here's our logo and our new lovely logo. Okay. I need a white background because the message I sent. Okay, I won't worry about this anymore. Let's jump in to live coding. All right, so we started getting some issues with, let's sort of like context switch now from logo. We'll get some feedback. We used GPT-5 for image generation. I don't think we know enough to know whether or not it's a step level improvement, but it feels in my interactions with it so far, which have been limited and not just to this specific moment, I think it's marginally better. Stylistically, it seems to be better able to capture and follow instructions. It stays better aligned to one's intentions, which is great. And but I'm still not quite. I still haven't quite figured out to get the exact outputs that I'm like wanting, and that's probably just not familiar enough with the model, and I haven't come up with a workflow that I'm super satisfied in. But overall feedback is meaningful improvements around the margins. Still need to interact with it more to get a better idea of really how it works. I want to go now and jump into how do we extend a site somewhat blind using Codex. What are some patterns and practices that I've used that have given sort of good outcomes? Yesterday, for the first time, I was having significant build problems as the output of Codex in my in the Just Lovely Events website that we were building, and I kind of suspect that was largely due to the fact that I didn't give internet access to the container, so it wasn't able to download and test modules. So I had to close a couple PRs. I merged one in and wanted to give some sense of how I use Codex in a way that I find somewhat useful. So I'm if you're familiar with story pointing, or I've worked in a software process before, there's this way of collaborating where engineers, product designers, project managers will attempt to estimate the complexity of a task. And there's a lot of really funny memes on the web about how that process usually goes. Ultimately, it's a combination of time and complexity, and you're trying to all get on the same page about what type of work it will take to realize some objective. Different organizations do different things. They call it t-shirt sizing, they do story pointing. I'm finding that tasks that you can keep into a t-shirt size small or a story point 1 or 2 are ones that tend to have better results, and the more specific your requests, the better the results. So let's start with something very small, and then as we get feedback on it, we're going to start setting up. We'll pull down the Just Lovely code base into Cursor, and we'll start working with it locally too. So as one of the things that, excuse me, I think I grabbed the wrong one. Let's jump into, okay, we created a portfolio gallery yesterday in the Just Lovely website. And some of the feedback I got from McKenna yesterday was that she wanted the ability to, or she wanted more color in these blocks, and I totally agree with that. So we added this portfolio gallery. Ultimately, I want this to be bento, like I mentioned yesterday, bento layouts. Here, let's go look at one. A bento grid is sort of like a bento box, and it has squares of different sizes that content fits in. I've encountered some trouble in implementing that in Codex specifically. Didn't quite get the results I wanted. So I haven't asked for that. I'll probably do a version of that in Cursor, and then we'll want more colorful blocks on the page, which will also impact the way that dark mode works. So we'll change the layout here, but it ended up creating a working gallery modal. Again, everything is responsive, right? It's full page responsive, but it needs to be, this modal needs to work to take up the full window in other contexts. We have our about page. Again, we're not using all of the different colors in the site yet. So these are some things that we should probably get added. And I think we'll want the footer to be nice and bright. We've got these kits, which I think are great. We're going to have CTAs. Probably should increase the font size. So there's a lot of I wanted to get the inputs to have the neo-brutalist design theme and to leverage those components. So there's a bunch of different changes we need to make. But let's start with Codex on implementing a blog. And one of the tools I use is called Tailwind, and that's a CSS styling library. It makes it really easy to just like put text in your CSS HTML attribute, and then it inherits the style. So it sort of compresses the distance between style management and styling the HTML in your layout. One thing I like is that you can go to this. I'm a Tailwind. I paid for Tailwind Plus. It's a library that gives you a bunch of pre-made templates for different templates and blocks for different use cases. I recommend it because honestly, it's a great starting place for well-executed designs that can be quickly edited. I mean, for example, here's like a columnar layout with a nav. So you'll see different web patterns that are established and that work well. Another useful library is called shadcn, and a lot of v0 uses that by default. Shadcn extends Tailwind or includes Tailwind. So there are a huge number of components that are pre-made that you can just pull into your site that work. And these include JavaScript as well. So yeah, you install, import, and configure, and it's ready to go. So these are pretty powerful tools that help make it easy to get a good-looking design out of your site. The Neo-Brutalism library that we're using builds on top of shadcn, which again uses Tailwind. So being a little bit verbose here, the people who created Tailwind are also selling this Tailwind Plus product, and I think it's great. So shout out to the Tailwind creators and the Tailwind Plus folks. I liked this blog layout a lot. And so what I'm going to do is say, you know what, let's take the HTML here. Now you could pick a different design pattern and say, you know what, let's use a React pattern. And in fact, in this case, since they're all divs, and it's showing JSON, this might actually be a better, more compressed way of going about it, because what we're really wanting to show is, hey, let's grab posts from some API or maybe markdown in our blog, and then we'll publish these pages to the web, and we want them to take a format that looks like this. So to kick that off, I want to add a blog to my website. The blog listing page should be neo-brutalist as per our style guide, but in this layout and form. Okay, so I'm going to give it code. Please ensure that all cards and components are composable and reusable. Ultimately, we want to populate the blog with information or with data coming in JSON form from an API. So we'll come up with a way to populate the blog using a CMS. There's a lot of different options for what kind of CMS you can use. And then let's figure out a blog page itself. The blog article page should look like the following in our neo-brutalist style. So let's go back here and we'll go for, so these are page sections. We're going to look for an article. Unless we want like a hero, or the song hero came into my content sections. Okay. So this would be like a fixed image. That's kind of nice looking. That's a quote. It's like a gallery. I'm expecting, I bet their blog articles will be sort of like their portfolio, or like how-to guides. That might not be the best. There's blog sections, content sections, footers. I know that we're going to want a specific logo, or we're going to a specific article page. I don't know if there's a template here. I think we should do one of those. I like this one that has the image fixed there. And we're going to check out the React code here. And we'll make sure it understands that the article page will be coming in Markdown. Assume that the article content will be Markdown and follow the HTML and responsive structure provided above for detail and listing pages. Okay, so we're going to kick that process off. And today, instead of running multiple in parallel because we had a little bit of trouble with our build yesterday, we're going to now clone down the app itself and get cursor set up so we can start developing. So I'll open up cursor and my computer is going to start sounding like a helicopter again. Let's go to GitHub, and if you've never cloned a project before, I will try to think out loud while I do it to teach you. I use a terminal. I use a shell language called Fish, which is probably super outdated, but I'm comfortable with it. And a lot of people use other tools for their terminal or console. So I'm going to pull this down. I want to copy this right here, and I'll cd into my business directory, which has a lot of different, and then I'll scope it here. Okay, so I'm going to clone the repository. Oops, see? Look at this. All right. So I should get a directory inside here now that says justlovely.events. So when you go to your newly created GitHub repo, V0 can help you create that repo, as we talked about. Under this code button, you're going to get different options. You can copy that, go to the directory where you want to work out of, and then just git clone and paste the SSH or HTTPS command. Depending on your permissions and rules, it might not allow you to do that. Tons of tutorials out there for how to do it on your own if you need help with that. But like we talked about, using cursor and version control will help you kind of get the outcomes you want step by step. Let's check on our Neo-Brutalist blog task. And then, so we'll change directory into justlovely.events website, right? And then I'm going to open this, and I will pull this into cursor, and my computer will start to sound like a helicopter because it's going to be really loud trying to get started. That's not true, but sometimes it feels that way. So as a first step, I'm going to need to install all the dependencies that this app works on. And you'll notice I have this cursor chat bar opening up. So I'm going to just npm install. And I should have a run dev. And if not, we can ask for it. But the way to check is to go to your package JSON. Yep, and you go npm run, and when you say node package manager, this is the package, run, and then it will run one of the scripts. So run dev, and next dev builds and starts your server in your local environment, so you can start to work with it in real time. Now, cursor is going to give us a lot more fine-grained control, and we have cursor's giving, or at least it seems like they're giving away free access to ChatGPT 5 right now. And after 5 or 6 hours of coding with it yesterday, I'm really blown away. I had been defaulting to Claude Sonnet 4.1 for a cost and utility reason. Every once in a while, I'd go on auto in Cursor. Actually, I should probably explain what these things are if you're using them for the first time. So in the Cursor chat here, we have the ability to pick which models we're working with. And there are reasoning models that show the brain, right? So launch week, look, again, free credits. I think I used like $100 in credits, but they're giving away free yesterday on GPT-5. I had been using GPT-4 Sonnet, which was, from my perspective, a very good and useful model. But you can have it auto-select for you. And when it auto-selects, it runs through. It could be, it's like a roll of the dice. I think they're probably cost optimizing in the background. I don't get better outcomes with the blended auto approach. I feel like I get, for very simple tasks, it's fine. But an app of any complexity and a task that I don't want to go off the rails, it doesn't really work great for. It's better to pick your model. GPT-5 is a ratcheting up in quality from my perspective. I noticed that it didn't go off the rails. It didn't over-optimize on the objective in the way that Sonnet sometimes does. Sonnet will start making changes that are breaking changes because it's trying to accomplish another goal. So if you're having it build tests, and I highly suggest a test-driven development approach using, we're not going to do that here today, but I highly suggest a test-driven development approach if you're building a backend and a compiled language. I use Elixir for a lot of different reasons. I guess I can go into them. The reason I use Elixir is because it's a concise, readable language, and I have the benefits of a compiler. And a compiler will show me parts of the code that are broken before the code starts running. And so I'm not getting surprised with things breaking so much, and I'm able to ensure that the output of the model is pretty consistently good before I make a ton of changes, right? Because if it doesn't compile, it's not a good change for the most part. Meaning, like, sometimes things won't compile as you're working towards making a bigger change. And it seemed like GPT-5 was able to move forward and backward in code changing and making really concise changes effectively. The app that I've been collaborating with it on has somewhere in the neighborhood of 600,000 lines now. And it's a really complex app that I've solo engineered, and I couldn't do it without the benefits of collaborating with AI. Hundreds of tests, nearing 1,000 tests, monorepo, front end, back end. I think there's like 60 or 70 database models. GPT-5 was able to navigate the code base and pretty consistently, without me providing the specific context, to get the result I wanted. So it looks like we have a problem building here. So I have a vulnerability. So npm run dev. All right, let's see how this looks locally. And I'm going to open up okay. All right, it looks like it's ready. And let's see, it typically runs on localhost 3000. Looks like it's spinning up here. We're going to get our full dev environment set up. There we go. So here is the site running locally. And just to show that we're collaborating with GPT, I want to take looks like our blog. It added NeoBrutalist blog listing route. So it's on blog. We have a blog slug. We'll go through this pull request really quick to see if we want to submit it. Okay, here's the blog article. Everything looks like it's going to be driven by data. Here is the blog card, exactly how we asked. Here are spoofed posts. They don't seem, oh yeah, they're giving like a version of Markdown. This is great. So this shows fake posts. I believe this is just a library function, so that's great. It added hero icons as a dependency and React Markdown and updated the lock file, which shows that it installed. So this might have fixed our problem from yesterday where we were getting build failures. So it ran build, which it appears to have built, and it passed linting as well. So this looks like it added a blog article. You'll notice we don't have any blog here. So what we're going to do, and this is our local app, localhost 3000. So now we've got our pull request open, and there's a few different ways to do this, and maybe today we'll get the chance to go through a couple of them. So this is a meaningful change, 1,000 new lines of code. It's building, so a second verification that the changes work and build, and then we'll be able to preview it. Again, this is why we started with V0, because all of these capabilities come out of the box. So whether I'm making changes in Codex or making changes on my local machine using Cursor, I'll be able to push, looks like it built. We'll be able to check out the website preview. Where is the blog? I guess I didn't tell it to give me a blog. And we're just looking for good enough. There we go. Wow. And we can work with this. These will be minor tweaks, but it did follow the layout that we asked for, which effectively is this image that hangs over the side, but it needs to stay fixed in the window, and we have Markdown on the left. I mean, this is great. Okay, so I'm going to merge this in, and then we'll pull it down and start massaging it with our own with Cursor. So let me note some of the things we wanted to work through. We want to get a real logo in place. And again, just a placeholder because we're looking for responses from the feedback from the owners. We're going to want to fix the colors across the site. we're going to want to fix dark mode. We're going to want we want to fix the portfolio gallery. And we're going to see how many of these things GPT-5 can handle on its own. What were some of the other things we had mentioned? Oh, potentially a bento layout. Dark mode colors. Have that one. Portfolio. We're going to fix the blog detail page. And we're going to try to get as much of that done in 30 minutes as we can. Cool. Now that that PR is merged, I want to show you all how to update. So you'll notice if I go to localhost blog, it's going to give me a 404. Okay. So let's pull down main and then see what happens when we refresh. We're going to need to rebuild because we have new dependencies. And I never installed, so that's part of it too. Yeah, I need to install. So this is going to add the new dependencies that Codex added. So it's compiling blog. All right. And there we go. We've got a blog, right? So note sort of what happened here. These images need to be fixed because they're only showing up on hover, which is a little bit funny. We got some bugs. Okay. So let's grab our color blocks from yesterday. And let's start sort of from the ground up. Make sure I have the right color. Families here. And I do. Okay. So I am going to try to fit everything in this window here. And remember, I always anchor towards kindness, towards the models when I start my collaboration. We are excited to collaborate with you today on a few changes to our Next.js marketing site. Oh, the other thing I wanted to change was I want the neo-brutalist inputs for forms. And I probably want to install Zod or something that will allow for easy validation of forms. Okay. I'm sitting on a medicine ball, sliding back here. So how do I get these? I wonder if I can copy them. Kind of amazing that you can copy and paste text from an image. So GPT-5 is supposed to be a pretty good front-end coder. So far, that's been validated, and it makes pretty good design choices. So we'll just we'll do some trusting of the model here. So let's tell it the colors that we want to work with. Here are the primary colors for the site. I want the cards in the site to have one of the colors, and this is feedback from the customer, also like to have contrasting border color options. Let's ensure that we configure the tailwind and site to enable for easy color composition with contrasting dark mode typography. To ensure a consistent design across the site. Let's also ensure that the header / title fonts are using a common typography component that handles scale, dark mode, or color contrast, and ensure and makes and typography definition and font definition. And what was the name of that font again? I believe we're using can't remember the name of that font. Berkshire Swash. Okay, that's a fairly vague spec. Here's a bunch of colors. Let's make the site more colorful. Let's respect typography definitions, and let's allow for the cards to be easily composed with color options. As a human, I would understand what that meant, and I would kind of go, that's a lot of work. It's going to be tedious. There's a lot of changes, but we can definitely do that. And I would probably go about that by saying, okay, well, what are the common rules? What colors contrast well with each other? How can I set up a core set of rules in a typography component to make sure that at the very least the titles are showing up in a way that respects the parent or the surface color. So if I have a bright pink, maybe white isn't the greatest typography color, black is probably better, or a yellow. And if I have a purple, maybe white is a good typography color, or maybe even the pink or the yellow. Understand that very quickly. but the reason I say that is to make your sites accessible to people who have different abilities and who can and can't see color well, you can come up with a clear awareness of what the right contrast is. So we can see some of what GPT-5 is doing. It's looking at the packages we have. It's looking at the CSS config. That's another thing about 5 so far. It seems to have a really clear understanding of, well, and they've mentioned this, but I'm seeing it also in my experience. Its ability to use tools is genuinely pretty impressive. It looks for things in the way that I would look for them as someone who would be tasked with developing some change or some code outcome. So here it kind of like loaded up on its own its context, which is really honestly quite fantastic. I didn't need to go through the code base and identify what the AI should or shouldn't be looking at. It seems to find what it's looking for on its own and pretty well. So here's its outcome. In Tailwind v4, I'll establish color tokens that map classes like background name, and I'll set the neo color primary to generate classes like. So it's coming up with a pattern for based in the Tailwind library that will handle some of this for us in CSS, which is fantastic. So we're going to add brand color tokens to the globals file for use in Tailwind classes, create a usable title component with the Berkshire swash and responsive sizes, fantastic. Extend the card component to support background/border tone props, fantastic, for easy color composition. And I'll update the key card components using the new title, and then I'll run a lint check. So it's come up with its plan. It's very concise. It's a great plan. So we're going to see these changes. So here's the brand palette tokens, right? So this is what we'll call, this is the name of the colors, right, that we'll be using, okay? This is the utility font, so like anywhere this font is used, we just add this class name. It'll make it much more composable. And hopefully that means that we'll ultimately move all of these cards to have much bigger fonts, which is aligned to our neo-brutalist style, and contrasting colors. So our first step was to fix colors, and hopefully this works on dark mode colors. All right, so now it updated the global CSS file. I think we accepted those changes, and it will show you in the cursor. Here we go. It shows you what changes it should be making. So here's a background utility class. Here's a border utility class. Here is a here are the different text typography classes. I think one of the ways we need to come up with some way to fill the time on the moments where the AI is working for us. It's a strange new type of workflow where you need to be present and engaged, but it's a different type of thinking, where normally I would be scouring the code base, coming up with a plan to do this on my own, and then I would start, creating my utility classes, and then so this is very much how I would approach this myself, and then I would come up with a component that I can reuse and then make those changes. This would be a tedious change that would very likely take, it would take hours. Frankly, it would take hours. And maybe that signals that I'm not fantastically great, but I've got 10, 15 years experience trying to be as absolutely efficient as I can, and I feel like I code almost all the time, and have had feedback that I can be pretty zippy fast when I'm working in front-end code. So we have a bunch of new components now showing up here. They've organized it well. We've got this typography class, which is what I asked for. This is great. Now we have some default variant of handling it. So now we should be able to pass through a what's the class variance authority? I'll be interested. I haven't actually used that, so that's new to me, and I'll need to learn. But I'm guessing what it does is sort of handle the classes that are going to be dynamic based on some simple or more simple configuration. So that looks great. We'll move to the next file. So these are it's typing out the brand and border tones, and then giving me a brand card component that handles the class determination for the parent div. Again, great. So it's importing those cards to make sure they're branded. It's replacing them here with the same API plus a couple of changes. Okay. Here it's pulling in the brand card again and the typography component that we asked for. I haven't seen the typography component yet, so I'll look forward to making that change. So it's possible that the build broke with that if I just haven't seen it yet. Components, typography title. So there we go. So it's here. This is the color of the card is teal. The border is ink. So again, it's making decisions for us about what colors where, but we can make those changes with by just naming the different color we want it to be. So again, same change here, swapping out the title. Same change here. So here's the title component. So this is the type. I like this style of implementation. So these are the types of HTML elements that it can use, right? And then it composes, it creates the DOM element, the HTML that you need based on the type that's passed through. So this will help you with SEO and make sure that the right, if you need an H2 or an H1 to emphasize certain text on the website, it will handle that here for you. So we'll keep that going. Okay, and it made changes. So it should automatically reload. And let's see. Okay, so these are relatively large, but there we go. We got some purple cards here. And I think that font size is a bit big. So for those cards, so maybe I should change it so it's not. Okay, let's ensure that all cards. Okay, here we go. On second thought, the font size for titles should be more flexible and dynamic. The main hero cards should be 72 pixels and the other cards should be 36 pixels. And this is a rough guess. Let's ensure all cards follow the branded card style. So this would be a much more comprehensive. And let's add another body text component that uses, or let's And let's add work sans as the primary body font with a relatively lightweight font weight. Also want the nav and footer to be, do we want it to be purple or yellow? Okay. So this is just like direct feedback, talking to it like I'm just collaborating with it. We've got the yellow here. So there's a lot of the yellow. I want more of the pink, but we'll get there. And I think I wanted to create a form, a generic form component. Let's try something else while this is working in parallel. So now that we have, and this sometimes breaks, but I think that this is a pretty cool, we're going to do deep research, and I'm going to pick a source that is the Just Lovely Events website. And I'm going to ask GPT-5 to please create detailed implementation specifications for the following objectives using building on the Just Lovely Events website. So I'm going to give this a list of the types of tasks that we want to accomplish today. So we're already updating the colors, so we don't need to add that. I want to ensure that dark mode shows readable fonts against the surface color of the block the font is in. I want to fix the portfolio modal to ensure a full screen view, as now it opens in half screen on desktop and should fill the window. I want to add static files for use across the site. I want to improve the spacing on the blog detail page and remove the card border around the content. I want to add a generic form component that will make it easy to create forms that I can use leveraging the neo-brutalism and I want to ensure a common pattern for validating form submissions on the client. Let me make sure. I also want to add bento layout. Look at that, here we go, more color. These look great. Validating form submissions on the client. And I don't know what else I was looking to do. Did I add the static files? Yeah. Let's call that for now. So the intention here is to take my shorthand notes of my objectives, leverage deep research, and we'll see how ChatGPT 5 does. I've noticed sometimes my deep research queries to against a GitHub repo time out and fail, and I have like, I would honestly say like a 50% success rate sometimes when I use deep research against a GitHub repo, and I don't know why. So if anybody from OpenAI ever hears this, that is a problem I would personally love solved, because this workflow of deep research against a GitHub repo is a really great way to create a seed spec. And what I'm going to do with this is I'll take this research, I'll drop it in a docs file folder inside Cursor, and then I'll have Cursor come up with its own to-do list based on this sort of specification. So this is like the type of work I would do as a product owner or like solution architect, and then I would convert that as like a dev manager into user stories and to-do lists. This is exactly trying to simulate that flow. So deep research asks follow-up questions, and so I'll do that. I'll answer these. Tailwind. So this is the contrast ratio math. Yes. So this is, I would like to make sure that the fonts are readable programmatically so that we can use all of these bright colors in a way that people can read. Which framework? Tailwind. Could you specify the type of static? We're going to have images, PDFs, all of the above. Okay, blog. Would you like to keep any visual separation between the sections? There should be space for the fixed header. Okay, what? All forms that are supported by Go High are all form inputs. All form inputs. Should it include built-in layout? Yes. 2-column versus 1-column form rows. Let's use Zod. Let's use toasts. Okay, so now this is going to kick off a research process that will hopefully give me a more structured document about how to accomplish these tasks that we've got lined out for ourselves. All right, so we've got the lovely, we got brighter, it fixed the margin on the header. I can't remember if I mentioned that. This looks great here at the bottom. We've got that pink and salmon color. I'm loving how this looks. Fantastico. This is great. Okay, this is really great. And it will look even better as we add different design elements and flourishes. So let's go through the changes that were made, but so far, so let's see, the 36, here's where it's doing the 36, here's where it's doing the 36. Here's the bright yellow. I think this is looking great. So the dark mode fonts are still not quite ideal. See how the portfolio looks. We're still missing some cards. The about page, it's not using the content and copy we want, but again, sort of this needs some love, but we have a pattern now. So let's go ahead and commit these changes that we've made so far. Oop, I made a mistake. We like to use a branch, so let's call this enhancements, fix styling and layout, get status, get add. We're gonna add everything. Get status again. Okay, get commit, and we're gonna add everything. We added design components and configurations options to make site more composable and colorful. Get push origin enhancements. Fix styling and layout. All right, cool. So we added those changes and we've updated them. I'm really happy with how this is going so far. And it's got the fonts that the customer asked for. Okay. Oh, I already committed them. So when you commit your changes, it takes the updated state. So I don't need to go through and review all the changes. I'm sort of just assuming that those changes worked now, which probably not a great practice, but since it's just front end only and we can see the vast majority of the changes, I think we're good. So I mean, this is looking great. This is fantastic. Let's now ensure that all cards across this site inherit this design pattern and process. This design pattern. Let's see if we can handle two things at once. I'd like to add Zod, and actually I want that spec to come back before. Let's ensure the portfolio page has a bento layout for these cards. This is going to be a shot in the dark because I've not done bento layout with GPT-5 yet, and we'll see how that goes. And that the portfolio modal opens in the takes over the full window. Okay, those are very sort of limited specifications, but we'll see if it can handle that. So my hope is that it will notice that these cards don't have that design pattern. And to be frank, there's a bunch of different parts of the site where there's white on white in dark mode in particular. And the fonts could be better. I think we'll want bigger. And actually, Okay, here are our, these were the page by page changes I was wanting to make. Let's just try something here. We'll work on creating, while this guy's working, we'll work on creating some fun images. I think we had that perplexity design color, or the perplexity design instructions. Yeah, cool. Okay, let's take that. I want you to act as a web cartoon illustrator for SVGs on my event planning website. Here are your design rules. Please create whimsical illustrations of a birthday party celebration that is fun and colorful, leveraging the provided color palette. And then I'm going to give it a color palette. Let's just see if we can kick off a conversation that will then allow me to create a range of different images that we can use throughout the site. So what we're looking for now is like artwork / cartoons that we can pull in and make the page more compelling. Okay, so code changes are happening. It's working on the gallery. It pulled in the brand card. So that change is probably visible already. There we go. And it looks like it's trying a bento layout and hasn't fixed the modal yet. But it's taken our card feedback, and I'll need to give it we'll want to make sure that it updates the title and the font names as well. So on the shop, it did. Let's see how that looks. Cool. Yeah, it took the feedback very well. Okay. Computer's running slow because I got a few things going at once. We're coming up on the end of our time here together today. Wanted to wrap up in 2 hours, and then we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. But I feel like we've made pretty good progress, and we won't start with the logo tomorrow at all. We'll build from here. Oops. Yeah, see, the bento layout is sort of hard for everybody. That's fantastic. That's how this looks in dark mode now. Ensure that all cards use work sans font and that the title fonts are bigger and bolder. Let's also address the portfolio as it does not expand to the full size of the viewport. Let's also address bento layout in the portfolio as it does not take the full width of the page. Okay, very vague again, but let's see if our deep research has come back yet. It has not, but you can see what's going on here. So it's reading through the GitHub repo. It's just sort of iterating on this specification, working through trying to design it over and over, which is fantastic. I'm really excited about this. I want to make sure that the buttons, I don't like this animation coming up, but it kind of is fun. Kind of is fun. Lovely, made with love in Phoenix. Okay, these cards will need to be updated to the pattern too. And since we have a pattern, I can do it myself pretty quickly. There we go. This is the services page. Yeah, I think we need to update these fonts so that we're not using the sans serif. And then the about page. There we go. Got our colors. All right, let's see those pictures that we're working on too. Oops. All right, so it took the colors for sure. The hat, so happy the hat's fallen off. I kind of like that one. I think that one's cute. Now do a one in the same style. See, this is one of the consistent. That's fine. It's fine. Now do one in the same style of a woman installing a balloon garland. Oop, I spelled it wrong. Looks like we're updating. Okay, this is great. Hopefully we have that font change. Oh, it added a font work, which is great. I just think these designs are so fun. Still need to work on the colors are bright, so the inverse dark mode font shouldn't be white in every case. In fact, I think it can stay black. Where are we at on our specification? It's still working, so that's good. It's looking at the component library. We've got new artwork. Here we go, balloon garland. That's great. I love that it's keeping the color theme. In fact, let's see if we can take inspiration from someone on Dribble. Oops. Somebody saw me put my water on the ground from earlier in the stream, could probably have predicted that. Okay. Let's look at neo-brutalist illustration. See, this is a great, these are great. And Christina Volchek. Brilliant work. We're going to screenshot a couple of things and try to leverage them as inspiration. This is kind of what I was hoping for. I really like this. I like this style. And this one. Okay, we're going to take these and we're going to give them as design inspiration. Wherever they went. Yeah. Grab these right here. Where did those screenshots go? My other screenshots disappear. Where did they go? Having a hard time finding it. Okay, let's see where we landed after these changes. They're still in flight, or wait. All right, let's see how we go. Updated the font in the cards. Updated the font. See, again, the thing I really like about 5 so far is that the changes are concise and minimal. I feel like Claude does things a little bit differently. And hopefully this gave some time. Specification still happening. All right, where were those changes that we asked for it to be? We wanted all, okay, so it looks like we have the fonts as we expect and need. Lightweight, work sans, lightweight, work sans. And there we go, full screen modal. Fantastic. Okay, so let's commit these changes and we'll merge them into main and go from there. Oh, there's my screenshot. Took me a second. Okay, so we're gonna see if we can get designs inspired by that, those artists we found. Okay, so I think we've made really great progress today. Look, the bento layout's even better. Takes up the full width. Collapses well. So this GPT-5 prompt seemed, this GPT-5 result seems a lot better. The page width still needs to be managed a little bit better for the portfolio page, but overall it's looking really good. Still need to fix the fonts, so it's the font's not white in dark mode because we're not on a dark surface. And whenever this specification finishes, and that will probably be something we'll work on tomorrow, is we'll pick up from where we left off. We'll have the logo, we'll put in some static files, and we'll add the Neo-Brutalist design form components, and then we'll start connecting it to Go high level, which I think will be a lot of fun. So we'll end today. We'll commit this code. Added font style changes, gallery and gallery modal changes, bento layout, and man, it's just looking good. I'm really excited about this so far. Better color handling. Git push origin enhancements, fix styling and layout. We'll go ahead and go to GitHub, and we'll merge these in. Hopefully by that time our images are done. And then we'll go find ourselves that Rick Rubin quote that we started with. So we're going to merge this into main. So what did we see today so far? We saw logo iterations. We started doing some artwork and design for the rest of the site. We created a new feature with Codex. We merged it in. We pulled the repo locally, and we worked with GPT-5 in Cursor to begin. Let's see. Did it already build? There we go. There we go. And we have our blog still. With our full screen. So we made a bunch of fixes. We'll investigate the total lines of code here in a second. But we've collaborated with GPT-5. We used Cursor. We used Codex. So we had multiple AI agents collaborate in adding code to this code base that we started with V0 on. And now we have a working continuous integration, continuous development process, CI/CD. So if you go to the root of the repository here, we can look at some of the insights. We have different commits in amounts of code here. We've got Codex has made some contributions. But we committed, we've got 18,000 lines of code added to this repository today. V0 created 4,976. That's a productive hour and a half. And we spent a lot of time on the logo. So, oh, and here we go. And look at the party artwork. That's fantastic. That's very much aligned to the style that I was kind of wanting to get. What else do we got here? These are fantastic. So we've created images with ChatGPT. We created the beginnings of a logo. We're still working on the coloring and style. But hopefully today you've seen there's a few different ways of collaborating with AI agents in different tools and systems. Hopefully this gives insight to your workflow. Hopefully you learned how important version control is. And you know, this might be one of the cases here where I get a broken deep research that's connected to GitHub. I'm kind of expecting that to fail because it's hung for a long time, like William hung. So let's go to the art of the way of code and wrap it up. We're on 2. We'll read this and wrap up. Thank you for being with me. Anybody who was, I hope you're learning something. I hope you're enjoying it. Look forward to any questions or comments that come through and helping folks out. I have a business called Cloud Elephants, and we are a back office as a service, and we do technology and AI automations for service area businesses. We offer fractional CTO services, so if there's any technology problem that you need help with or want an expert to sit over to shoulder surf you on, we are here for that. We can build apps of any complexity level and integrate AI and AI agents. We love to help people out with low-code solutions because it empowers you, the user, to create and build your own flows with AI. We're going to be doing some of that here in the next few weeks as we get the site online. Go to cloudelephants.com, check out what we do, and we'd be happy to help you out. So to wrap up the day, let's read Sonnet Verse 2 from Rick Rubin's The Way of Code, because what I'm trying to manifest in the universe is that he sees this. That's it. And that he knows there are technology people who read the Tao. He was skeptical of that in a few podcasts. And that by aligning ourselves with our most natural creative way of being, the color of our flower that's supposed to show up will. So let's hope everybody blossoms. And I hope that there's some learning that comes from these interactions that gives you the ability to channel your creativity into the world in the way you see fit. One of the most exciting things about these new AI collaborators is that they will empower people to make more. And by make more, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the creative act. Again, another Rick Rubin book that is a spiritual book. So let's read this. When we recognize code as elegant, other code becomes sloppy. When we praise efficiency, the notion of waste is born. Being and non-being create each other. Simple and complex define each other. Long and short determine each other. High and low distinguish each other. Front end and back end follow each other. Therefore, the vibe coder builds without laboring and instructs by quiet example. Things arise and he accepts them. Things vanish and he lets them go. He holds without claiming possession, creates without seeking praise, accomplishes without expectation. The work is done and then forgotten. That is why it lasts forever. See you tomorrow.